Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
From the Fifth Quarter Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, you are listening to High School Hoops with our hosts, Steve Collins and Jake Steger.
Happy Friday, Coach. Episode 217 of Coach Unplugged, and I believe of High School Hoops. We're almost 2 months in. I think this is episode 8. But before we talk about what we're gonna do in High School Hoops this Friday, I want a big shout out to our. I want to mention our sponsors for this month. Actually, through 2018 is Dr. Dish. You know, it is the shooting machine that we own, and we have 2 of them in our gym. That's why I am willing to put my reputation behind this product. It will make your life easier. Go over and check it out. It doesn't matter if you're a youth coach or a middle school coach or a high school coach. Go over and check them out. Mention Coach Unplugged and you get $300 off your next purchase. Great deal. Go do it. Also, make sure you go over, if you want to really take your coaching to the next level, go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. 14-day free trial. Let me buy my wife a Christmas present. Nothing else. All right. But anyway, this week we're going to talk about, all right, end of October. Leaves are changing. Winter's around the corner, which means basketball's around the corner. I know some people around the country have already started, but we're on episode 8. All right. This is an exciting one, Coach. I wish we could, as a podcast, I wish we could draw things up for people on this one. But all right, what's our topic this week?
You know, we talk about this huge light out there of plethora of basketball out there. You can literally go anywhere on the website, or you can go anywhere to get information on how to select baseline out of bound plays and side out of bound plays. But the question is, how do you select and practice them in high school practice? I think that, you know, they need to be executed, but how do you do it properly, and how do you fit them into your daily practice? I think the first thing that we look at as a coach, and there's 2 philosophies on it. Some coaches are still people that just want to get the ball in and grind, and some are looking to score. I always think a dead ball situation is a great opportunity to score. And that's just my philosophy. I don't know. It's a great opportunity to look to score an easy bucket, and so that's my philosophy. The other coaches just like to get the ball in and make sure that they can continue to run their offense.
I agree. Let's stop on that one first before we do the next thing. I mean, it seems silly to me to not try to score. Now, we can talk about philosophy. This could be a whole different episode about whether you want one uniform set on out-of-bounds plays, or you want different looks, or you want enough that it's really hard for the opponent to scout. I think that's a whole different thing, I think this episode should be about, how do you incorporate the out-of-bounds plays that you pick into practice, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think that's one thing, and then just kind of how do you decide how to select them? You know, we can talk about series and that. I talked about that plays should fit your personnel. Just because it looks like a great play that Duke runs or Michigan State runs, it doesn't mean it's going to work for your players. Again, go back to the idea of what's in the best interest of your team, what fits your team. You're going to be able to find a million different. Go to YouTube right now, and you will find a whole series
Well,
of great out of bounds
I'll send you
plays.
500 of them. I don't care. I got tons out of bounds plays. But to be honest with you, unless you sit and talk to somebody and you work on them and you figure out your personnel and that kind of stuff, I mean, yeah, you type in out of bounds plays or baseline out of bounds plays. No one's reinventing the wheel with these things.
No.
To be honest with you.
And it really doesn't take much time to create your own if you really want to. So,
Yes.
Again, and so the last thing, what I like about what a good out of bounds play to me is something fits my personnel. Always has been. I like plays that are simple, allowing players to make reads to open space.
Yep.
That's just my philosophy. I'm not looking for multiple screens and this and that. I'm really about how can we create open space for isolation or cuts. I think are huge, and I think one thing about out of bounds plays is everybody's about screening, but I think cutting is just as important and teaching them how to cut.
I'm telling you, some of my best out of bounds plays, no screening. It's cutting. It's movement and cutting. Yeah.
On my notes here is I stole one of your out of bounds plays years ago. That's one of my favorites. It's just a triple curl cut that you run.
Yep.
Man, we used to score all of it all the time because teams would overcommit, and it was so simple. And I taught that play from 5th grade on. I mean, all my kids knew how to run that play, and it was called easy in my program because it was such an easy play, but we could score off it all the time. It was so simple.
I mean, I had one. I haven't run it much lately, but I had one where the 3 guys across the free throw line. I think I ran that for 15 years and scored on it. And there was no screen. I mean, there was a fake screen. There was really no screening on it. And it's like, because it's misdirection. That's the key is if kids don't talk, it's the miscommunication that you need. So when you're thinking of picking them, look at your personnel, but it doesn't have to be screen. Now, if I'm coaching a 5th grade team in a tournament, sure, I'm going to set a screen and screener or maybe 2 of them, and I'm probably going to score because I'll have the kid roll back to the basket, and there won't be that communication. But as you move up, that's when you got to do it. So how do you work on them in practice? I'll tell you how I do it. I'm more intrigued how you do it in practice.
Well, in the beginning, I think when I first started coaching, like younger middle school and stuff, I would just set aside time to practice them. And then I started to observe other coaches and how they do things. I think one thing is really important as you continue to be a high school coach is go watch other coaches coach in their practices. You can really learn a lot.
Right.
I have moved from this idea of 5-on-0 to I've done 5-on-0 where they practice them several times to really get the basics down of it early in the season just to understand what we're doing for a couple minutes at a time. I've done games where it's 5-on-5, make it, take it, and they choose the out of bounds play. That's always a fun one. Yep. Middle of the week, you don't have a game for a couple days. And then I really like to do, once they get the play down and once I teach it, I like to do blobs into progressions. So this idea of progressions is I don't like to go 20 minutes up and down the floor. I like to go a couple minutes, and every time a new progression starts, they got to start an out of bounds play.
Right. And so here's what I do and I like that. I love that. The progression, like I do that with 1-trips and stuff. We can talk about that in another episode, but how we kind of break down practice would be another episode. We got to remember all these things we're saying. Yeah. But anyway, the out of bounds play, the one way I found it that works really well for me is, again, you got to teach it. You got to break it down. You got to talk about reads. And then we do 5-on-0. Like when I'm teaching it to them, I'm teaching a kid how to add. I'm going to, I have to teach them out of bounds plays. I have to teach them some of the nuances. We'll throw some defense in. So for a couple days, I'm spoon feeding them this out of bounds play. Here's a read. Here's this. Here's that. So yes, everybody I think should do that, and then again, it depends on how kids learn. Some kids learn by doing, some kids learn by seeing. I'll pull out old ones and let them watch them. Say, hey, here's our out of bounds play. Ran in 2007. Watch this. So some of them have to do it. Some of them have to read it. They'll their playbook. Some of them will have to see it. We walk through the whole progression of teaching some.
Hey, Coach, I hope you're enjoying listening to High School Hoops, brought to you by the great people over at teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Go over and check them out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Resources, videos, handouts, practice plans, mentors, a community like nothing else. It's Netflix for basketball coaches. with office hours and one-on-one and my email address. So go over and check it out. A special discount to the high school hoop listeners. Type in school and you'll get 10% off on limited time. So go check that out. Bye-bye.
Someone something. After that progression is done, let's say we're 3 weeks in and we'll out of bounds play 2 or whatever. We'll just call it 2. So then we'll be doing our stuff and someone gets fouled. Okay, hold on. Nope, it wasn't shooting. Take it out. You have 5, and then I'll grab the ball and I'll go 5, 4. So I literally put them in the into the out of bounds thing, and they got to get to the spots. They got to, because otherwise it becomes so mechanical when you do it within practice that I want to get them used to. Well, I'm not usually with these 5 guys. Where do I go? Because what happens is, and I don't know if this is your case, they'll learn one spot.
Oh my
God. Yeah.
Even in college, you would not believe the amount of people that still struggle. Kids that only know one spot.
Right.
It's bad. It's really
horrible. Bad. Like when Wesley played for Marquette, he had to know all 5 spots because he had to teach everybody else all of them sometimes. It was, that's how great a player he was. But It's like you have to be able to, and the only way you can do that, you can throw them into the other ones and the kids will help them during that breakdown growing stage. But this is prime time now. And you might be in with John, and John's a big, and he's going to take that 5 spot from you. You have to run the 3 or the 2 or whatever spots, however you number them. You have to put them in those situations. And then if they don't make it in that 5, we run. We run.
Another thing is, don't expect your kids to study them at home either. I mean, yes. Let's be honest. Last year I did the whole playbook. I put on Schoolology, and you're able to get app. They could look on their phone. I guarantee you that none of them looked at it. It was a waste of my time. They're not going to get any better at it until they practice it in practice. And so you talk a lot about the importance of situations. Doing situations every day in practice, you get better at that. The other thing I would suggest is don't be afraid to integrate other things that you're working on. So one thing that I've done in the past is, so if I want to work on my side outs, out of bounds plays, I'll go from a side out to a transition break, back and forth, working on my transition break. So
that's a good idea. Yep. It's the why again. We're doing this.
Right.
We're going to go.
I ran 2 side out of bounds plays last year at the college level, and they're X1, X2. So they go X1 into the transition break. Because a lot of times you make a basket, you start out a free throw, or you start at a half court, and it's not really game-like. So get the ball to the rim and go. And get out of the ball, and you could do that same with you start with an out-of-bounds play. You score, and then you go to your transition break. That the whole idea we talked about last episode, the why. How can I be able to do multiple things at the same time? How can I be efficient?
Yes, and the thing is, this is October, and some of you just started. Some of you are going to be starting. I get it. And we're all guilty of it, and there's nothing wrong with it. We're talking about this should be your end game. We all have to. There's times where we have to stop stuff and we have to break it, and there's not a why behind. No, this is how we run our offense, and we're going to run it for 5 minutes, and we're going to get it right. Well, we've all done it. We're just talking about like you need to incorporate the out of bounds play within a live situation. You need to incorporate, and again, the jump ball thing, whatever. We don't need to necessarily incorporate that unless you want to run a jump ball, quick hitter or something. That there's some possibilities there. But again, you're not going to spend 20 minutes on that. But how you incorporate these side out of bounds and baseline out of bounds into your practice has to go into your master plan for the year. Because to be honest with you, when we make the second round, we're not running the same out of bounds plays because they've already been scouted up. We're tweaking. We might call one, and one might be our old 7, kind of thing. So I think that's really important moving forward. Thinking about that why and how you're going to develop it further.
Another thing is, if it's not working after a certain amount of time, don't waste your time. You don't have time to continue. There's such a plethora of out of bounds plays. It's just, if it's not working, you can add something different and don't try. If you think this is the most glorious play and it's not working, it's not going to work 3 weeks from now. It's just not going to work for your guys. And you don't be afraid to be vulnerable and change things up if it doesn't work out.
Right. Yes. Be secure enough to say, nope, doesn't work.
Nope.
Moving on. Yes.
Exactly.
And when you coach long enough, you'll do that. but don't fight, especially quick hitters and out of bounds plays are the same. If they don't work, throw them out, pull something else out, give it some time. Doesn't work, throw it out. You'll eventually find something that will work for you. Trust me, it will happen. But and especially in your, I wish I could just send you an out of bounds play. People are listening to this, but I don't know your team. I don't know your personnel. I don't know this. That's where you really have to read. I got a big, or I got 2 guards that can shoot. Well, you're going to run different things depending on if you got 2 bigs or you got 2 guys that can shoot. You might run different things trying to get them open. So you have, as the coach, have to be the creative one.
I think the last thing I would touch on is that your players are going to really like your practices more if you can be able to integrate multiple things at one time.
Yeah.
It gets really boring doing 5-on-0 out of bounds plays the whole time, or under the basket practice 5-on-5. But if I can go 5-on-5 out of bounds play to live, man, that's more game like. I agree.
Well, make it, and if nothing else, make it make it a competitive. 2 equal groups. Don't put your starters together. Put 2 starters on this group and 3 on this group and throw them together. First to 5 wins. You got to score on the out of bounds play. Loser runs. Boom. That's all it takes. That's easy. I just solved the problem for you, because it will be competitive. They'll want to win. You have 2 groups. You can split the other kids up. If you have more than 10, go. And trust me, they will run it a lot harder.
I think after the last couple of shows we've done together, I think 2 things that we can touch on as we get going into our seasons is when we're practice planning, what we're doing is think about the why and think about how you can make things competitive. I think if you can do that on a daily basis when practice planning, I think you're going to have a really good practice every day.
I do too.
I think if you can continue to look at, all right, am I doing? It's what I'm doing. Is it really what I need to be doing in practice? And do I have an edge of competitiveness in my practice? Because that's how you're going to get that edge of competitiveness as you go into the seasons and the regular season games as well.
Right. Yep. And you got to bring it. We should do one on energy too, because how to bring energy and communication. I talked about that at the clinic too, so we should definitely talk about that moving forward.
We have a lot to talk about. I'm hoping you're taking notes. We forget things pretty quickly.
I took that note, so I don't know what the other stuff we said was, but we'll have to go back and listen. So, all right. We'll talk, Coach. Bye.
Sounds good. Thanks. Bye.
Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. If you have any topics, you have anything you want us to talk about on high school hoops, let us know. We can definitely do that. Just send me an email at steve@teachhoops.com. We're always looking for ideas or topics that maybe you're thinking that we should discuss. We are open to anything at this point. Also, make sure you go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. 14-day free trial. I don't think you'll be disappointed. That's all I can say. I think it's a great gig. All right. Have a great Friday and a great weekend. And like I said last weekend, go rake those leaves.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
These days, work is in trouble. We've outsourced most of our manufacturing to other countries, and with that, we sent away good jobs and our capability to make things. American Giant is a clothing company that's pushing back against this tide. They make all kinds of high-quality clothing and activewear, like sweatshirts, jeans, dresses, jackets, and so much more, right here in the USA. So when you buy American Giant, you create jobs in towns and cities across the country. And jobs bring pride, purpose. They stitch people together. If all that sounds good to you, visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order when you use code STAPLE20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with promo code STAPLE20.